At one time I was sitting on a rock in the Ganges from sunrise to sunset, just meditating, praying. And after sunset I lived in a cave in the forest. And so many wonderful lessons came to me then, just by watching the river. I was seeing how the waves of the river are so affected by everything around. The wind, people throwing things in it. They're always changing. But the current down deep is constant. And one day while I was sitting there, I happened to see a hawk flying over my head. It's a very big hawk. And where I'm from in Illinois, in America, we don't have big hawks. We just have little sparrows and crows. But this was a big hawk. And he was circling above me, lower, 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 till he was just a few meters above my head. I looked at him and he had these glistening yellow eyes and sharp claws and a very, very sharp, pointed, curved beak. And he was coming lower and lower. And I was all alone. There was no one around. Suddenly, the hawk dove headlong right into the river. Went underwater. There was a skirmish. It was splashing and splashing and splashing. I was watching, wondering what's happening. It was just a few feet in front of me. Then the hawk emerged from the river with a fish in its claws. And I looked in the eyes of that fish. He was about 1 foot long. That poor fish was totally disoriented. I was thinking that fish was just going about its day like any other day. Swimming upstream, downstream, across stream, probably with his friends, family, looking for food, playing. When least expected moment, the hawk of faith ripped it right out of its complacent state. And the hawk went higher and higher and then flew into a forest with the fish. And I remember thinking at that time, what a good lesson this is. We read about it in the papers. It happens to people we know. Sometimes it even happens to us. Where we're just going about our day and suddenly something happens that changes everything. Whether we're rich, whether we're poor, whether we're educated, whether we're uneducated, it could happen at any time to anyone. But then I was thinking, if that fish was swimming deeper in the Ganges, the hawk could not affect it. And in the same way, as long as our consciousness is on this superficial level of just trying to enjoy things and having superficial relationships with people on the basis of these things, then the hawk of fate could really affect our lives. But if we go deeper, if we find deep fulfillment within ourselves, if we find love within ourselves, if we find that connection to God within ourselves, then whatever the hawk of faith may do, hawk of fate, we're in a place where we can't really disturb our own happiness, cannot disturb our integrity, cannot disturb where we're going in our life.